Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I haven't brainstormed what I would do if I were the Laker organization right now. I've given some, you know, from the hip, shooting from the hip type of ideas, basically, as I was discussing the game yesterday and certain things, but, you know, really breaking it down and saying where do you go from here is kind of what the overall sentiment is for most of Laker Nation. And I figured, like I often do, I'd break down the logic in real time. So this is me doing that. I haven't really thought it out. This is going to be me doing this here. Uh, but right now we're looking at AD and we're saying, okay, if I'm listening to all the reports, he's basically out for indefinitely, and putting a timetable on it is silly. And because putting a timetable on it is silly, you have to assume the logical thing to do would be to shut him down. The problem is in assessing that, you're looking at LeBron James and saying that's not an option for him. If you still want to prioritize him properly, you understand that you cannot trade him. He's not eligible for trade at all until the summertime. So right now you're about to waste one of his years. If you don't bring this man something that can help him win, simply put, there's no other option. So um, LeBron James is in the toughest spot of anybody, and if I were him, um, I would be talking to somebody to try to figure out how I can how I can just figure out how to best just try to make this situation the best I can make it. You know, it's hard, man. I don't even know what I would want to do if I were him. But the most important thing I'd want to do is just put my head down, play some basketball, man. Because this is, or do whatever would come to me as peaceful. That's honestly how I would look at it, man. It's tough because you look at Anthony Davis and you say, okay, I opted in because I was hoping this team would make a good trade that would make us good enough regardless. They have yet to make that trade because the market hasn't allowed that trade to take place. In the meantime, we were waiting on AD, or not waiting on AD, but it's one of those situations where it's like the more games you play, the likelier he gets hurt just simply off the history. And now we're at that space where he's hurt. That inevitable season-ending injury basically happened. And now it's like, okay, well, it happened real soon, you know? It happened early enough to where the Lakers can still shuffle some things around and give themselves a team that can at least be complete without AD, and give LeBron a chance to lead a team to a play-in tournament or something and make this thing worth playing. You know, that's the best thing that you could say for Bron, you know? And it's for the Lakers. It's like, all right, well, you got the opposite. Probably what's best in your interest is to hold on to your assets, shut everybody down, hold your picks for dear life, and at the end of the season try to trade everybody at cost. So it's really one of those situations where it's like, all right, Genie, so what do you want to do? Because those are the two options. One of them, you're doing right by LeBron James. The other one, you're doing right by what seems like your long-term timeline. But I don't know if what's really best. You know, I don't know. Looking at what I'm seeing here, maybe you can, uh, you know, wait for AD to come back and hopefully the team will be good enough, right? But that's just kind of what you're doing anyway if you don't do anything. My thing is just complete the team, you know. You don't have to trade your two picks to complete the team. You have some players that are playing really well right now. You can package them and just make your team make a little more sense. Get us some size. We got some guys that can compete, and this is not a very competitive season. So you can get away with making the playoffs with this roster if you complete it, in my opinion, so long as we don't lose any more people. The problem is you're waiting on LeBron James and his injuries to come about if you lean on him too much. So if you send him out there and you don't have a plan, other than to lean on him, he's not going to make it through the season either. So the question is, what does that do? You know what I mean? Given the fact that he's just opted into his contract, he's got one more year on that contract. If he gets hurt, you know, obviously that's the worst thing for you, based on the fact that he's the other half of your situation, the other half of what it is your cap is made up of. Couple that with Russell Westbrook, who would be coming off the books at the end of the season regardless. And I think the decision has been made to basically not move him based on the price tag it would take to move him and what we'd bring back, which ain't better than having $47 million of cap space at the end of the season. So I've heard the argument about having cap space not being the greatest thing in the world based on the next free agent pool not being very good. But I also have a better argument for flexibility being available for trades that can acquire us salary dumps that can get us first round picks or players that we would like to have on those contracts. So I don't look at acquiring $47 million of cap space as something that I have to throw at the free agents that are at that coming up that summer. Nah, I don't got to do that. All I got to do is contact a team like the Bulls or contact a team that wants to get rid of some contracts and acquire them. And it's as simple as that. Talk to the Knicks, get Fournier, and tell them to give me 3 or 4 picks to attach with it, and make myself flexible that way. So I mean, it's not about landing the great free agent. Hell no, that's not even half of what it is the Lakers should be aiming for. If anything, they should be looking to how to make themselves much more flexible and give themselves a foundation with young players and picks. That should be the only thing the Lakers are really interested in, blowing this thing up, man. Simply put, Anthony Davis, we all understand who Anthony Davis is. I'm sure there's a team out there who would love to pay his salary and help him, get his 30 or 40 games on, man. But this is not the place for that. This ain't it. This is not, Los Angeles is not meant for this. We need players that we can count on. No matter what the level of talent they are, they have to first be available beyond anything else, man. So if I'm, for me, the way this is going, just because I'm so eccentric on player availability, I want Mikal Bridges, and I want, what's that dude up in Golden State? The 2 Iron Men of the league are the players that I'm honestly thinking about having on my roster. Because those are the only ones I honestly feel good about paying. Dudes that I actually trust going to play every game. Russell Westbrook, believe it or not, is one of those players. At least I know he's going to play most games. I mean, he didn't play yesterday, but his body will allow him to do more than most. And I'm thinking of, Kevon Looney, who doesn't miss basketball games. Mikal Bridges doesn't miss basketball games. Those are the players that if I have a franchise, just give me those guys. Like, give me them so I know I can pencil them in every night. One of the things I looked at in regards to the Lakers team, the Showtime team, one of the things that no one really talks about is the fact that they had AC Green on that squad, and AC Green never missed any games. You could always pencil him in as a starter at the either power forward, small forward. I don't know how to use the team. It was before my time. But you could always pencil him in from year to year to year, that you didn't never have to make no adjustments because that player was always going to be in the lineup. Do you know how valuable that is when you look at what we got going on and you can't seem to find any continuity because players coming in and out of the lineup because of injuries? Give me mainstays, Iron Men, dudes that are genetically wired to never miss basketball games, who can run all season long. Because if I can invest in anything, that seems like the best bet to me. And these guys, a lot of these guys they want to give all the money to, as talented as they are, and they are very talented, they've been leaned on because of their talent. And that's what I think we need to wean off of going forward with the next generation of youngsters who are coming in. Do not throw them at the worst franchises who don't have any depth. Because in them first 7 years, they're going to be leaning on them kids too hard. And by the time you get paid, they get paid the most money, they're done. Their legs are shot. You got these horrible contracts that weigh down these franchises. It's like, this is never, ever supposed to happen. And where does it start? It starts with teams wasting roster spots with dudes that cannot help them. And as a result, you overlean on these guys, as I said. So that's something I hope that people are learning from. Don't do it. There's enough talented teams, players out there rather to find yourself in a situation where you're overleaning on guys and having them get hurt and all this nonsense. So that's something that I think the Lakers need to pay attention to as a team going forward. We definitely tend to lean on superstars entirely too much. And it is what it is. So what do I want to do? What do I want to see the Lakers do? Honestly, I just want to see us lean on the youngsters, dude. I don't really care too much as a fan for making the shift from being a contender to not being a contender, because I honestly never thought this team was much of a contender. When you're leaning so much on so much going right, coupled with guys overcoming natural tendencies that they have to like literally just overcome to just simply not be a problem for the team, you look up and you realize, we're just not that good. You have to be perfect just to win games. That means you're not good. That means you're not great. That means you can't win that much. And so that's the reality of it. The facade of us being a contender was never something I bought into. I was a believer that the team could do so if they were healthy and did everything right. But it's an 82 game schedule, man. That's spread out too thin. Yeah, if the schedule was more like 40 games, 50 games, I'd be like, yeah, we got a chance. The progressions I'm seeing every night, if we could just stay healthy. And even then, we wouldn't have stayed healthy. We wouldn't have made it through a 50 game schedule, y'all. So I'm too through with Anthony Davis. I'm too through. Because I hated that I anticipated this all summer long. And I was right. Like, I hate that I was right. That's the problem. When you say that you know someone's gonna go down with an injury that's gonna keep them out forever, and you actually see them go down with that injury after telling everybody 2 weeks ago, hey, he's playing great. You go back and look at some of them videos. I was like, look, this is the moment right now. We could sell him for 7 picks right now. Seize the moment. We're here. We're right here. And the moment passed. Rob Pelinka just sat there and just watched them get hurt. And I look at LeBron James and I say, bro, when you lean in and trust people, the evidence don't tell you that you should. It ain't about whether or not the dude was good enough, man. The chances of him having a season-ending injury was so high till you can't let that be the reason you opt in. You know what I mean? Like, I'd have to think that LeBron James just wants to continue living in Los Angeles, because he had to anticipate that the chances of this happening were pretty damn high. You know what I mean? Like, that's where my head really takes me. It's like, how bad should I feel for LeBron James when he knew just as much as the rest of the world that Anthony Davis only plays 40 games a season? So if you're going to lock yourself into a situation like that, and it happens, it's kind of hard to feel bad for a dude. It's like, you might as well just pencil him in to have signed up for this. As to which it is what it is, man. It is what it is. As I always say, I'm someone who prides himself on being competitive, man. I want to win everything I'm in if possible. And if I can't win, I'm really frustrated. That's not something I settle in well. And to me, signing up for bad odds means that I'm expecting the chances of me having to experience that losing is high. It's like I'm signing up to experience that. I'm never, as a competitor, signing up to experience losing. You know what I mean? So I gotta have either a crazy confidence about myself like Mike and Kobe, to where I think I can drag a bunch of guys who can play basketball like myself to the championship. And when I say myself, I mean the actual me who can't play, to the championship. I gotta think that I can drag them there amongst impossible odds, and expect myself to deliver on that in order to effectively want to sign up for odds like this, to where it's more than a 50% chance that my co-star ain't gonna be there, and that the team can't trade me in the event that happens in year 20, when I'm already 38 years old and ain't got too many more years to play at this level. It's like, why would you lock into that? It's like, and I'm a Laker fan who wants LeBron to be here, but I'm a Laker fan who wants to win a championship beyond anything, beyond wanting anybody here. So it's like, if we're not signing up to win a championship, or if we're not signed up to be an absolute contender, I really don't understand why people want to sign up. Now, that sounds kind of rich coming from somebody who loves his hometown and the weather here. And you know what I mean? I can imagine how wonderful it'd be if I were a billionaire on top of that, living in this city. It's a place to want to be. But, I mean, it's still basketball, man. You got to go out there and perform or get beat up. And as a competitor, I just can't. I'm not wired to want that. You know what I mean? I'm going to be wired. I would probably be the guy that probably want to go somewhere where it ain't even as lavish to live, so that I can win and have every day be a part of some winning. You know what I mean? Like, literally. That's how I'm wired. Like, LA is dope as hell, but not to be getting beat up every day, and losing basketball games in this city every day ain't the nicest thing in the world. So that's my thing. I don't know, man. Especially when the pressure is on him to win, and everybody's looking at him to carry the franchise. And if you don't carry the franchise, it's your legacy on the line. I'm like, why would you sign up for that as a competitor when you know the franchise don't have enough? When you know the co-star you signing up with is probably going to get hurt? It's like, bro, this is kind of just a metaphor, or rather a parallel to what it is we talk about on the court. It's like when you do certain things that's not competitive, in terms of your intellectual competitive nature. It's like you choose to do other things, so it don't lead to winning. This is just the same thing. It's the same DNA. It's the same guy doing the same things, just a different way. And you can see it in other areas. It's like, bro, you're not signed up to win. You're signed up to be comfortable. And if it happens to lead to some winning, that's cool. But winning and losing ain't everything to him. The problem is, he came to a place where winning and losing is everything. That's the only problem with what he chose. Like, I'm open enough minded to be someone who can say, okay, winning and losing ain't everything because it's a lot of pressure to win. And if you have to psych yourself out to not care about pressure, then probably winning and losing has to go by the wayside as well. So I can understand how he psyched himself into being the king despite all the pressure that comes from everywhere and all that. You gotta get your mind right for that. So I can see where he would probably fall into this space. But then you just look at it and say, okay, don't choose a place where you're going to definitely disappoint the people there because of your way. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where he went wrong. It's like, you don't come to the place where they're expecting you to be gung-ho crazy about winning and then want to come there and be somewhat okay about winning. You know what I mean? But I think too, my mind goes to a place where you say self-awareness. You know what I mean? To over assume someone is self-aware is a very, very bad thing sometimes. And you think somebody sees what you see in them, that's not necessarily what they see, but it's what they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe he doesn't realize all of this, even though it's being told to the world that he does this in so many different ways. Maybe he's not listening to us. You know what I mean? He don't see it that way. But I can assure you, there are ways of being competitive that could have helped him this year by just kind of doing things a little bit different. You know what I mean? Leaning a different way in terms of what it is that he wanted for the team this year. Just little stuff. And I think he would have been in a much better position to have a more competitive team. To blame him isn't necessarily. It's not what. It's gonna come off as blame, but it's more so an understanding of someone making the decision and that the results become this. I don't know that it's a blame thing if it's intentional. It can be a blame from our perspective because we want better. But if it's what he signed up for and it happened to just go this way, then it's just simply a variable. So as a fan, it becomes tricky because you want to welcome people as they are and to be themselves, especially someone of that cachet to choose you to resurrect your franchise, give you your 17th championship, tie you up with the Celtics. You kind of want to give a guy an opportunity to be himself. If he happens to be some kind of, I'm kind of like this, kind of like that, you want to reward that with, hey, we love you for who you are, but can we make you better while you're here? As opposed to, get the hell out of here, we don't appreciate that, you're a loser. I don't know, that seems kind of low frequency to me. So, like for me, it's like, all right, he left his home in Cleveland to come to this place to help resurrect us so he can enjoy the sunshine and also hopefully get us a championship. We got that. Now we're in this place where he's stuck because of some of his choices he made while being here, and our owner also, some of the choices she allowed him to make. We're not happy about those choices as a fan base. I'm not happy with those choices. But I've learned some hard lessons about giving up this season. This team, this unit, even though AD's out for his month, has taught me not to give up on guys. Everybody on the team that I thought was trash has impressed me after saying so, simply put. So that makes me feel even better about trying to embrace LeBron James for his not so competitive ways and maybe hopefully making him better by being in a place where we don't accept losing very much. And that's the thing. It's like Kobe Bryant really liked LeBron James, even though the media told us he didn't. Nah, Kobe loved him. He did. And Kobe was as competitive as anybody. So if Kobe in his competitive ways could embrace LeBron James in his not as competitive ways, then it seems like us being Kobe's home, you would think we would kind of take Kobe's side on things and kind of try to embrace this guy a bit more so than we would naturally do so. Plus, Magic Johnson brought him here, so that's another one of our legends who co-signed him initially. It's not the easiest thing in the world when you were growing up in a time where literally half of the sports media was training all of America to hate this man. Sports-wise, that is. Not off the court, but you were taught to hate Bron. You were taught to hate the Heat. You were taught to hate the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you were definitely taught to hate him as a Laker fan because he was the biggest problem for Kobe Bryant being considered the best player in the world. He was the only thing standing in the way for like 9 years. Rightfully so, of course, but in the way. And we were taught to hate that. And so it's hard to come at him the right way. You know what I mean? When he makes mistakes, he messes up things in the franchise. You want to look at him and say, you're sabotaging us, blah, blah, blah. But that's not actually what I see there. I just see a guy who's had bad habits. People have let him get away with doing certain things in certain places. And just like most of us, when we grow into our bad habits, we tend to carry them to new places. And so if we're going to change in our ways and we're going to make ourselves better, then we have to accept that some of those things need to change even later in life. And this is why I always challenged him this season to just take a step back and let Anthony Davis step forward. And now, with Anthony Davis getting hurt, just like I said, he's back to being the number one guy again. As I said he would be. I said that before AD got hurt because I knew AD would get hurt like we all did. And I said, look, Bron, all you got to do is take a step back for a little while because he's going to get hurt and you're going to have to step right back forward. So you don't have to worry about how long this is going to take for you to have to take a back seat to somebody else because it ain't going to last. And here we are. This is the space LeBron James is comfortable being in. This is the space he's created for himself by his choices. He is arguably the greatest player of all time. And so what I expect is for him to just go out there, try to do the best he can, and ultimately get hurt. That's what I expect. What he should expect from himself is that he's smart enough and a great enough athlete to figure out whatever puzzles in front of him from a night-to-night basis and look to intend to prove me wrong to the best of his ability. That's what I expect from LeBron James. You understand what that means? Like, it's a difference. What I expect him to do and what I expect from him. I don't know if his body's going to hold up, but every night I expect him to continue to work on the tendencies that help us stay competitive. Not shooting long threes to the detriment of the team just because there's nobody next to him that can really be as talented. Use those not so talented dudes to the best of their ability and let them miss layups if that's what they're going to do. But do not force failure on all of us by taking shots that have no chance of going in. I would rather them help us fail while you're doing the right thing as the leader. Because at least when they fail and they miss a layup and you're doing the right things, they're going to have the confidence to go back out there and try not to piss you off again. Rather than watching you piss them off and have no confidence in any of us because they know the only reason why you're doing that is because they suck. It's the wrong way to approach it. You have to play with players in confidence no matter who they are if you actually want to get the most out of them. I don't care if you have no chance of winning. If you play like you have no chance of winning, you definitely got no chance of winning. And the other team is going to have a good time beating you because of it. Even if you got to get blown out, make the other team work hard for doing so by working with your teammates. That's how I look at it. That's exactly how I look at it. My teammates are going to be bad. They suck and they're terrible. But they're all touching the ball. Why? Because they're going to get, the defense is going to get different looks. They're going to have to deal with his version of garbage. They're going to have to deal with his version of garbage. And they have to deal with me too. We're not going to have the ball stuck in one spot. It's not happening. And so that's how it has to be, man. Make them work. And if he stays competitive in that way by using the pass, which is his greatest attribute, and turning his defense into offense, which is something he can do with some of the attributes of the players on the roster. We have defenders. We can do some things and upset some people even without Anthony Davis. The team is used to playing without Anthony Davis. He doesn't play any damn boy. How many times did we actually have him? Wasn't much. It's not that much of an adjustment if you really consider it. So we just got to go out there, keep doing the same things we've been doing. Trust that the player development aspect of things is best for us both short and long term, regardless of what the core is doing, Lakers. That's really what it comes down to. Regardless if we can make trades or not. Even if we do nothing and just draft those 2 picks over the next several years, the most important thing we can really do is keep our young talent flourishing. And get rid of the guys that are not as talented. You have an opportunity to develop, so that means you should be shuffling. Got a roster spot wide open. That means you should be trying to see who's in the G League team that can actually go. That's it. Anything else that we're doing, this Patrick Beverley, Dennis Schroeder experiment, that's only good if we're playing to win. And if we cannot win, then they need to be sitting or on someone else's team. Send them to Dallas. Send them somewhere else, man. I'm telling you, that's the best thing for us. Get equity for Schroeder and Beverley ASAP. Trade them together and do it now. Without involving picks if possible. I have no problem with us extracting players from this roster, especially if they're guards. We got guards, man. We don't need extra guards. Least of all guys that are hurting the team, literally. So, in that. And that's really all I want to see the Lakers do, honestly. Add a center. Have someone step in front of Damian Jones that can do a little more than he can. Add a wing if you can. Another small forward. And just develop the rest of the guys. Because we only have to have 9 or 10 players in rotation. It's not like we have to have 50 people. You know what I'm saying? It's a 10, 11 man rotation game. So if you have a nice 8 players that you really trust, which we already have about 4 or 5 of them, then the rest is just you plugging in players that you can use. So we don't have to overthink this thing. Get some players down there that can help the team. Let's get the heck on. And if Anthony Davis comes back healthy in a month and we're still in position to contend, then we get him the ball in the second half like we've been doing. You know, and if he doesn't come back, then we expected that because that boy only plays 30 games a season, as we said 100 times. And for God's sakes, Genie Bus, just because a guy's a nice person does not mean they're good for the Lakers, man. There are a lot of nice people. We really like Anthony Davis. We really liked Kyle Kuzma. We really like everybody. But we got to pick players that can really help us. You know what I mean? So that we can be good to all the nice fans out there and give them something to root for. You know what I mean? That we're the ones that are ultimately suffering for the mistakes that you guys are making in that front office. And you want us to pay for the tickets, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it. So honor us and our devotion by doing way more than the bare minimum here and helping us out of this whole long term so that we don't have a bunch of players that we don't believe in over the next several years wearing our uniform. Because that's exactly what these decisions lead to. That's pretty much my thoughts. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.